Hey all, I'm Vin with CFG Games and we're reviewing Neptunia Riders Vs Dogoos. The Neptunia series parodies anime and game tropes at every turn. It spanned multiple genres, and now the zany cast has returned with a motorcycle action game. Let's see how it handles. As one might expect, the premise is completely silly. Uzume finds herself in a brand new, unfamiliar world. She sees familiar faces, but their personalities have all been flipped. They're completely obsessed with Dogoos, a series mainstay monster that spoofs slimes in role-playing games. And now it's up to Uzume and her friends to free everybody from their Dogoo-fueled craze and get down to the bottom of this situation. As frivolous as the premise is, it's actually one of the game's strengths, as the writing is bonkers. The English dub cast really delivers these lines in an exuberant way, and the interactions are frequently over the top and amusing, even if they largely stick to the same overarching structure. The game is also easy to pick up and play. It feels like a miniature Mario Kart battle mode with maybe a tiny dash of katamari-like to boot. You're always racing against an opponent to get a target number of Dogoos, usually 100. You can attack opponents with melee and long-range blasts to steal their horde, and there are quite a few different types of Dogoos defined. These are often just as silly as the game's premise itself. Many add gimmicky mechanics, but you can often just rely on your driving skills to get the job done. And there's a fair number of unlockables. You can unlock more bike parts with in-game currency, which is a nice touch, but largely not too impactful. And whenever you see a new character or stage or enemy, you can include them as you're taking snapshots in the fairly robust photo mode, which is a fun touch as well. However, much of the overall game flow is underwhelming. There aren't really that many stages, and I reached the credits roll in just under 3 hours. The worlds have fun, colorful motifs, but the actual areas themselves are pretty sparse. And the level designs are generally flat, with the occasional few ramps and warping gimmicks. And speaking of visual presentation, the action is at 30 frames per second. Some of the dialogue scenes are at 60 frames per second, but I don't generally feel contemporary driving games should ever be at 30 frames per second, especially one on the PlayStation 5. I was trying to dig into the options to find a performance mode, but as of the time of this video, it didn't seem the game has one. And given that there isn't a high level of fidelity or any real-time lighting, having 30 frames per second feels unnecessary, and it dampens the whole feel of the game. The music is also upbeat in its own way, but it seems just fine and not necessarily the most memorable. And mechanics-wise, I don't really feel much impact. The bike doesn't have inertia as you drift, and the computer opponents don't really provide the most resistance. There were a few occasions where the CPU got a bunch of Dogoos and I got a game over quicker than expected, but most of the time they seem aimless and kind of a pushover. And it just sort of seems like there isn't the most to do. When you clear each stage, you can go back and complete some optional objectives to unlock more customization options, but I don't really feel like these stages are particularly exciting to play over and over again. I would have really appreciated some extra modes or optional stages, but I didn't really see anything of the sort. The game scale seems reminiscent of an Xbox Live Arcade title or an early 2010s PlayStation Network game. I actually have a fondness for that era, but as this is a full retail release, I just can't help but feel like there's something missing here. So ultimately, I would primarily recommend this game to those who really like the series characters or really want to experience a silly take on motorcycle racing. Again, the dialogue and characterization and jokes are fairly amusing, and they're really the star of the show, but I just wish the rest of the game were more impactful. Thanks for watching our review. This has been Vin with CFG Games. Please check out the rest of our YouTube channel for more reviews and other great gaming content, and we'll see you on the next one.